Before starting your negotiations, it is important to have clear objectives on what you want to achieve, and what compromises you are prepared to make in the negotiations. In this lesson, we will look at some tips on how to set out your negotiating positions. When planning effective negotiation strategies, it's best to develop a list of objectives for yourself, and imagine what the position would be for the other side. Are they likely to agree to our terms or not? If not, why not? What would they agree to? Strategy is developed from your analysis of what are reasonable targets and objectives. Your negotiation strategies are your approach to how you are going to convince the other side to agree to what you want. Your negotiating strategy is informed by your negotiating positions. What do you require from the negotiations, and what are you willing to give up? Consider this example of negotiations. A car salesman wants to sell cars for as much as possible. You want to pay the least. But does the car salesman also want you as a long-term customer? Do they want to trade in car from you? Do they want to provide financing and maintenance? Is there anything other than low price that can be negotiated with the car salesman? If the salesman only wants the highest possible selling price, your only bargaining chip is knowledge about prices at other dealerships. If, however, the salesman is interested in other aspects of the deal, then there are more details that can be negotiated in order to get you the lowest possible price. Knowing what the salesman is interested in, other than just price, allows you to develop more sophisticated, effective negotiation strategies. Knowing your own negotiating positions will enable you to exercise more control over the process. Developing your negotiating positions involves establishing your MFO, your most favored outcome. BATNA, the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. WATNA, the worst alternative to a negotiated agreement. And your WAP, your walk-away price. The first step is to identify your most favored outcome. Identify the best possible outcome you can achieve from the negotiations. What would be the outcome that gives you the solution you are seeking, without having to make any concessions? In most negotiations, parties are influenced consciously or unconsciously by their assessment of their alternatives to a negotiated agreement. The better their alternatives, the more they may push for a more favorable settlement. The worse their alternatives, the more accommodating they may be in the settlement negotiations. Unfortunately, parties frequently fail to undertake an accurate and comprehensive analysis of their alternatives, and therefore, negotiate poorly based on unrealistic and uninformed ideas of what they might obtain in the absence of a negotiated agreement. Before you enter negotiations, you should determine your WATNA and BATNA. To identify your BATNA, the best alternative to a negotiated agreement, ask yourself, how do the proposals match your realistic alternative, if you cannot come to a deal? The more attractive your BATNA is, compared with the proposals you receive, the more power you have. The less attractive your BATNA is compared to the deal on offer, the less power you have. To develop your BATNA, list what you would do if you fail to reach an agreement. Convert the most promising options into practical choices. Select the single best option. That is your BATNA. Compare your BATNA to all proposals. If an offer is better than your BATNA, consider improving or accepting it. If an offer is worse than your BATNA, consider rejecting it. If they will not improve their offer, consider exercising your BATNA. Consider this example of developing a BATNA. You have a good motorcycle which is 4 years old. It gives good mileage. However, you want to replace it with a new one. You have $2,300 cash in hand. You want the balance to be arranged through a loan. You have 12% interest in your mind. The financier is asking for 15%. What is your BATNA? So, what is your BATNA in this situation? It is likely to be to keep your current motorcycle, save some more money, and wait until you can get a lower interest rate. Now, consider this second example. You are attending an interview for a change of job in your company. You are in the salary negotiation stage. You are concerned about your child's education and need more income to pay school fees for a new school. You are demanding a 30% increase. Another company is offering the same salary, but will also pay school fees. What is your BATNA? And what would be the BATNA in this case? In this case, you could take the new job and have the school fees paid. Now, Let's consider the worst alternative to a negotiated agreement. If your WATNA is something that would be difficult for you to accept, but the likelihood of it happening is small, you might not feel compelled to give up much in negotiations. In order to focus on the negotiations with a sense of purpose, your WATNA is important. What is often referred to as the worst-case scenario is something that any sensible person will think about before embarking on any initiative. What if it goes wrong? How will we deal with that? How you feel about the WATNA will dictate how flexible you need to be in the negotiations. Now, consider this example. You are taking up a job in another country. You are selling your current house to buy a new house in the new country. You have made a commitment to purchase a new house, and the sale is dependent on sale of your house. You have also booked a shipping company and have arranged schools for the children. What is your WATNA? In this case, it is likely to be where you have failed to sell your house and have to rent a property in your new country while paying the mortgage on your existing house. Of course, you will also need to determine what you will do if the negotiations are not working out, your walk-away price. In any negotiation, it is important that you keep your WAP to yourself, especially if it is significantly less than your initial offer. If the other party knows that you will be willing to take a lot less than you are offering, then you will be negotiating from a position of weakness. Once you have set your WAP, it is essential to keep to it. A walk-away price becomes absolutely meaningless if you are not prepared to walk away should it not be met. You should give the impression to opponents in negotiation that you could walk away at any time. They will, after all, not be prepared to stop once they get a price which is satisfactory to them. They will look to wring a bit more value out of the deal for themselves, testing you to see what you will give up. An additional consideration in negotiating is the ZOPA. ZOPA is the zone of possible agreement, the range in which a deal that satisfies both parties can take place. In the negotiation for the used car, both parties should feel good about the outcome. Even though the parties might have hoped for a better deal, both got a better price than their WAP. This negotiation demonstrates the importance of keeping your WAP to yourself if you want to negotiate the best deal. Your range in this situation falls between the price that you would ideally, realistically get on your WAP. In an ideal world you could demand $1 million and expect to get it. In a realistic world, you need to be realistic in negotiations. You should arrive at your ideal realistic price by seeing what the accepted market value for what you are offering is. By adjusting for your specific negotiating position, you can find your best realistic price. Then think about a price at which it would no longer be worthwhile to strike a deal. The ZOPA is the area in which the final price will sit. Our final consideration in setting objectives for the negotiations is knowing your level of authority. Wherever possible, avoid being given authority which is too limited, and which will prevent you from being sufficiently flexible in your negotiation. If you are having to continually call home, you will soon lose credibility as a negotiator. Check also to confirm that the person you will be negotiating with has the required authority. If at the end of the negotiation, they tell you that they are only the mouthpiece for the real negotiator, you will have lost a great deal of your negotiating power. When we have clear authority, we can negotiate more confidently, retain credibility, and maintain the trust of the other party. Before going into negotiations, it is essential that you through what you want to achieve, and what you are prepared to give. To do this, you should prepare your BATNA, your WATNA, your WAP, and your ZOPA. Additionally, you will need to clarify your level of negotiating authority, and that of your negotiating partner. By getting these ready in advance, you have greater chance of success in your negotiations. There are a number of activities complete for this unit. Take the time to complete these in your manual. In this way, you will better learn from and retain the knowledge covered in this unit. Many thanks for watching this lesson. Want to learn more? Click on our website to view our range of courses on marketing and sales management.